Thank you, Noneva. And we'll still work on the pronunciation of Ntshavheni. Good morning, South Africans. Good morning, everybody. Yesterday, Cabinet held its virtual meeting, and in terms of that virtual meeting, there were particular decisions that Cabinet got to, and today we are communicating the decisions of Cabinet. Cabinet has been updated around the vaccination rollout program. And in terms of the Cabinet discussion, the coronavirus disease Sisonke vaccination rollout program has been extended to 54 vaccination sites across the country. And the program has to date vaccinated more than 207,808 people. And the vaccination program is done in 3 phases. And the phases are as follows. Phase 1, it is being implemented over a 3-month period, and we commence the implementation on the 17th of February, and it will end on the 17th of May, and is targeting 1.5 million health workers countrywide. And this includes both public and private health workers. The Department of Health is on track to vaccinate all the health workers by the end of this phase 1. On phase 2, it will be implemented over a 6-month period, starting from 18th of May to 17th of November 2021. And this phase is covering over 13,350,140 people. And they cover vulnerable groups, essential workers, and occupational health and safety stream. The occupational health and safety stream includes workers in sectors that are critical for economic recovery, but they are people facing, such as mining, hospitality, taxi industry, retail, including spaza shops and the informal sector in general, the media, and other sectors who will feel that they need to be included, and they will have to contact the Department of Health. The Department of Health is finalizing mechanisms for making sure that the interaction with the sectors or particular industries can be streamlined properly. And the vaccination sites for phase 2 and phase 3 will be expanded to 2,085 sites, and this will also include private sector sites to improve the efficiency and speed of the vaccination rollout program. Phase 3 will be implemented over a 3-month period, which will start in November 2021 and end in February 2022 to cover the remainder of the people in South Africa, and including those who were not vaccinated in phase 2. And today we are estimating that it will be 22,600,640 people. Cabinet welcomes the continual arrival of tranches of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine into the country, which is ensuring progress with the implementation of the phase 1 of the Sisonke vaccination rollout program. Cabinet remains confident of the remarkable progress that is being made by the South African Health Products and Regulatory Authority in authorizing the J&J vaccine for mass vaccination. The recent approval by SAPRA of the Pfizer vaccine should give the country access to more life-saving vaccines. And we are confident that the approval for the J&J vaccine will be completed before the commencement of phase 2. Cabinet would like to reassure South Africans of the capacity of the Department of Health in partnership with the private health sector to undertake a mass vaccine rollout in phase 2 and phase 3. And therefore, we are confident that if the availability of vaccines continue and are guaranteed by the pharmaceutical companies, the country will be on track to meet its vaccination program. Cabinet welcomed the visit to the BioVac manufacturing facility in the Western Cape on Thursday, 18th March 2021 by the chairperson of the Interministerial Committee on COVID Vaccines, who is the Deputy President of the country, Mr. David Mabuza, who was accompanied by several ministers. The visit assessed the facility's capabilities, infrastructure, and investments to support vaccine manufacturing and development in the country. The partnership between BioVac and the United States-based immunotherapy company Immunity Bio to develop South Africa's capability to manufacture COVID-19 vaccine will result in Immunity Bio's second-generation COVID-19 vaccine being manufactured in the country. Cabinet calls on all South Africans and everyone in the country to play their part in strictly adhering to the lockdown restrictions, particularly during the upcoming Pesach, Easter and Ramadan religious celebrations to minimize the resurgence in the COVID-19 infections and prevent a potential third wave. Cabinet further reiterated the importance of observing the non-pharmaceutical health protocols to prevent the transmission of COVID-19 by continuing to wear masks in public spaces, maintaining social distance of at least 1.5 meters, always washing hands with soap and water, or using an alcohol-based hand sanitizer, 70% alcohol-based, and avoiding large gatherings. And on energy, Cabinet is aware of the negative socio-economic impact, disruption and inconvenience caused by load shedding to ordinary citizens and businesses over the past few weeks. Every effort is being made to resolve current energy challenges and bring new power generation capacity online in the shortest possible time, which is fundamental to South Africa's economic recovery. At the same time, government continues to support concerted efforts to stabilize Eskom and to set it up on a sustainable growth path. Cabinet, in this regard, welcomed the announcement by Mineral Resources and Energy Minister, Mr. Khumbudzo Ntshavheni, on 8 preferred bidders to provide additional 2,000 megawatts of emergency electricity that will help support the national grid over the short term. The preferred bidders from the Independent Power Producer Program are expected to source energy from solar, wind, liquefied natural gas, and battery storage, and the first connections to the grid are set for August 2022. The 8 projects will inject 45 billion rands into the economy with an average local content of 50% and create some 3,800 job opportunities during construction, and a further 13,500 job opportunities will be created during the 20-year purchase power agreement term. The strategic interventions that government is making to restructure and strengthen the electricity system will fundamentally improve the country's power generation capacity. The significant progress being made shows that our efforts to deal with energy challenges are gathering momentum. Cabinet also calls on all of us to support the intervention to strengthen the performance of Eskom by reporting illegal connections, meter tampering, and illicit sale of prepaid electricity vouchers to law enforcement agencies. We must all be responsible consumers of electricity by also paying our monthly bills. Cabinet also received a briefing on the fee compact for university, and Cabinet remains committed to finding a sustainable and lasting solution to the funding of higher education to ensure that all academically deserving students are not financially excluded. The fee compact reached between the Department of Higher Education and Training and institutions of higher learning, which is aligned to inflation, are part of making higher education affordable. Cabinet is concerned about the growing historical debt in the higher education system, and the Department of Higher Education and Training is currently collating data on the profiles of students affected by this debt, which will form part of a planned review of the student funding policy to introduce a sustainable funding model for higher education. In the meantime, Cabinet encourages institutions of higher learning to engage with their student bodies to find solutions that will allow more students to register in the current year. And Cabinet welcomed the speedy investigation and arrest of the 4 police officers who allegedly killed Mr. Mthokozisi Mtumba during the recent student protest outside Wits in Johannesburg. Furthermore, Cabinet welcomed the arrest of those responsible for public violence and continued attacks on police during the protest. Cabinet respects the constitutional right to peaceful protest within the confines of the law. However, law enforcement agencies will not allow criminal elements to take advantage of legitimate protests and cause mayhem by burning and destroying private and public property. On police killings, Cabinet remains concerned about the reported attacks on members of the South African Police Service. Police officers put their lives at risk daily to ensure the safety of our communities and the country. Over the past month, since 25th February 2021, a total of 12 police officers were brutally murdered on and off duty in different parts of the country. All acts of violence and murder directed against police officers are not only cowardly, but also unpatriotic and should not be tolerated in our society. Cabinet calls on law enforcement agencies to ensure that justice is seen to be done for the fallen police officers. As law-abiding and peace-loving society, let us all demonstrate our revulsion towards police killings by reporting all perpetrators and fugitives to law enforcement agencies. The death of a police officer is one too many in society. On Human Rights Day, Cabinet thanked all South Africans who joined in the country's Human Rights Day celebrations on the 21st of March 2021 under the theme, The Year of Charlotte Maxeke, Promoting Human Rights in the Age of COVID-19. This year's commemoration coincided with the 25th anniversary of the adoption of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa in 1996. The day reminded us of our moral duty as a nation to continue the fight against racism, sexism, xenophobia, and all related intolerances, including gender-based violence and the remnants of police brutality. Cabinet called on all South Africans to use the remaining days of the Human Rights Month to foster greater social cohesion, nation building, and shared national identity. On Cabinet decisions, on the National Data and Cloud Policy, Cabinet approved the gazetting of the National Data and Cloud Policy for public comment. The policy seeks to align existing policies and legislation to ensure that the country takes full advantage of developments in the digital economy. The data and cloud services are key enablers for the digital economy. The policy also seeks to ensure the country fully participates in the new data era. Once adopted, the policy will also strengthen the capacity of the state to deliver services to the citizen. The draft Nationally Determined Contribution, or NDC, towards the global response to climate change, Cabinet approved the updated draft National Determined Contribution towards the response to climate change for public consultation. The Paris Agreement on Climate Change requires South Africa to submit periodic NDCs which outline a target to limit greenhouse gas emissions. Since the adoption of the Paris Agreement in December 2015, South Africa has made significant progress in moving towards the development and implementation of its NDCs. The updated draft NDC takes into account South Africa's national circumstances, legal requirements of the Paris Agreement, equity, and latest science. The IMC on the 2023 Netball World Cup. Cabinet approved the establishment of the IMC on the 2023 National World Cup for the hosting of the 2023 National World Cup. The IMC will drive the preparatory work towards the event, and South Africa, which will be the first country in Africa to host the National World Cup, Netball World Cup, will host 16 competing nations. International Philately Exhibition, IPEX. Cabinet approved the hosting of the IPEX, also known as the STEMS exhibition, in Cape Town from 9 to 19 December 2021 under the theme Road to Democracy. The Federation of International Philately in FIP initially planned to stage the event in Cape Town from 17th to 20th March 2021, but it was moved to later date due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The Department of Communications and Digital Technologies will organize and host the event in collaboration with the FIP Organizing Committee. The stamps collected will display historic moments, individuals, and events that contributed in enhancing democracy in South Africa. The anticipated visitors will contribute towards the country's tourism, boost local economy, and promote culture and social cohesion. On Science, Technology and Innovation Decidal Implementation Plan, or STI Decidal Plan, Cabinet approved the STI Decadal Strategic Plan 2021-2031 for Science and Innovation Implementation. The plan follows the White Paper on Science and Innovation that was approved by Cabinet in 2019. The policy responds to the rapid technological advancement and harnesses STI for socio-economic development of the country. This decadal plan will serve as government's master plan, which will incorporate other departments such as Departments of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development, Mineral Resources and Energy, Health and Trade, Industry and Competition, and Department of Small Business and Development. The implementation will be in collaboration with all relevant departments, but will be led by the Department of Higher Education and Training and Science and Innovation. On upcoming events, the President's Virtual Reading Club, Cabinet encourages South Africans to join the 4th session of the President's Reading Club on Thursday, 25th March, today, from 16:30 to 18:30 via Microsoft Teams webinar. This session will read South African Literary Classics, The Suit by Ken Temba, and I'm Not a Tramp by Leslie Sehome. Since its launch in 2019, the National Reading Coalition has supported the Read to Learn to Lead campaign and President Ramaphosa's call to improve reading nationally from the classroom to the living room. By working together, we can build on this foundational skill and create access to career opportunities. And Cabinet expresses the following messages of congratulations. The Cabinet congratulates Dr. Patrice Motsepe, the businessman who became the first South African to be elected the President of Confederation of African Football. Cabinet also wishes to extend happy and safe Easter holiday and spiritual religious communities a respectful and spiritual Pascha and holy Ramadans. On condolences, the Cabinet expressed condolences to the family and friends of His Majesty King Goodwill Zwelithini Kabheka Zulu, who was the longest-serving monarch of the Zulu Kingdom. President Ramaphosa accorded His Majesty a special official funeral Category 1 status, which included elements of military honors. His Majesty will be remembered as a visionary monarch who united the Zulu people, traditional leaders, and contributed to the prosperity of AmaZulu. His Excellency President John Pombe Magufuli of the United Republic of Tanzania. South Africa is united in grief with the government and the people of Tanzania as they go through this difficult time. In paying tribute to President Magufuli, President Ramaphosa said, "We owe so much of our freedom to the generosity and sacrifices of the people of Tanzania. It is the shared past that makes us, as South Africans, feel the loss of President Magufuli all the more deeply and all the more personally. Tanzania has lost a father and a brother, Africa has lost a visionary leader, and South Africa has lost a dear friend," end quote. We also express condolences to the friends and family of Mr. Menzi Ngubane, the award-winning veteran actor who was an exceptional performer and a great artist. He contributed immensely to the development of the performance art, both on and off our television screens. His work as an artist continues to inspire many in the arts industry. And also Ms. Noxolo Maqashalala, who was a brilliant young actress who graced our TV screens with a display of exceptional talent. We also express condolences to the family and friends and the people of Egypt on the passing of Dr. Nawal El-Sawadi, an Egyptian feminist, human rights activist, author, and psychiatrist. She contributed to the fight against the oppression of women based on culture, religion, and societal class structures through her writings and activism. She was well renowned for her work against the practice of female genital mutilation. We also expressed our condolences to the friends and families of Mr. Patsavana Govender, also known as Cham Govender, a struggle activist from Chatsworth in the KwaZulu-Natal province, who was a member of the Natal Indian Congress and an African National Congress underground activist. And also to the friends and families of Mr. Cecil Esso, who was a struggle stalwart and a former Robben Island political prisoner and a former member of the ANC military wing, Umkhonto weSizwe. Esso spent his entire youth and adult life fighting for a free and a non-racial, non-sexist South Africa. He is from Worcester in the Western Cape, and he was awarded the Medal of the City of Worcester. On appointments, all appointments are subject to the verification of qualifications and relevant clearances. Cabinet wishes to announce the appointment of Ms. Nolwazi B.K. Gaza as the Deputy Director General, Planning, Policy and Strategy in the Department of Higher Education and Training. Also Mr. Samuel Zamokuhle Zungu as the Deputy Director General, Technical and Vocational Education and Training in the Department of Higher Education and Training, and Ms. Preeti Nozipho Makukule as the Chief Financial Officer in the Department of Higher Education and Training, and Ms. Meme Sijosingwe, whose contract as Secretary General in the Office of the Chief Justice was extended. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. We will now take questions. I'll start with Poliswa in Cape Town. We've linked with the colleagues in Cape Town. Poliswa, do you have any questions from your side?
No questions in Cape Town.
All right, thank you. I know that there was a bit of a delay with regards to the online broadcasts. Are there any questions on the WhatsApp platform, Matikweni? Okay. So, Minister, we don't seem to have any questions. Are there any questions from the colleagues who are with us in the House present? All right. Okay. So, shall we call it a day? That was very clear then, Minister. Thank you very much. And once again, we apologize for the technical glitches that we had. Oh, okay. I see on the WhatsApp platform there might now be a question. You can proceed.
Thank you. We do have a question from Tando Kubeka from this news.
Okay, yes, please proceed.
There was two questions. They said, Minister Zweli Mkhize has said that South Africa would vaccinate 1.1 million people by the end of March. How do you explain to meet this deadline in 6 days? Or are you accepting that you failed to meet the target as government? And the second question is, there are fears of a spike in COVID-19 infections over Easter weekend. Has the advisory committee requested for the tightening of restrictions ahead of Easter weekend? And then we do have one more question that just came in from Paul Vikiato from Bloomberg. They said, is the use of the J&J vaccine part of phase 1 or still a separate mass trial? That's all for now.
Okay. 3 questions so far, Minister. Thank you very much again.
Thank you for the questions. We were going with that. The statement was very clear, and we were very happy with the no questions arrangement. Maybe let me start by clarifying the issue around the vaccination program. I do not recall Minister Mkhize is committing to a 1.1 million vaccination by end of March, but I recall him committed to a 1.5 million vaccination of health workers by end of phase 1. In this cabinet statement, we have just clarified that phase 1 will end on the 17th of May, and to date, as we sit, we are confident work and the briefings of the Department of Health and the Interministerial Committee on Vaccination that we are on course to meet the target of 1.5 million vaccination by end of phase 1, which will end on the 17th of May. The next question is the question around the possible spike of infections during the Easter holidays. The National Coronavirus Command Council is meeting and considering the plans on how to manage the Easter holidays. And it's not only Easter holidays, you've got the Jewish Passover, which is known as Pesach. You also have the Ramadan, which will also follow immediately. The National Command Council is considering what measures that should be taken implemented during that period, and we cannot discuss the advices that are provided either by the Ministerial Advisory Committee, and it's a Ministerial Advisory Committee, the National Joint Operations Committee, popularly known as NetJoints, to the National Corona Council virus. I can't preempt those advices and the decision of the National Command Council, Coronavirus Command Council, that will then be recommended to Cabinet. We are, the NCCC is meeting and considering the options. There are plans on the table that are being considered, and when the time is right, when the decisions have been made, we all know as South Africans that the President will convene a family meeting and communicate those decisions. And there's a question around the J&J vaccine, whether it's part of phase 1 trial. We have indicated that phase 1, I'd like to remind South Africans that initially the plans around phase 1 were based on the AstraZeneca vaccine, and the country will recall that we had, as a country, secured the 1.5 million doses of AstraZeneca vaccines, but fortunately, because of the efficiency and efficacy on the strength of our scientific community and the Department of Health, before we could even implement, when the vaccines were in the country, it was determined that for the strain that is, the variant that is prevalent in the country, the AstraZeneca vaccines will not be effective, and then we took a decision as government that we will not proceed to utilize the AstraZeneca vaccine, and then we'll then give them over to the Africa COVAX facility, and that process has been concluded, and will then procure vaccines that will be suitable for our country. Immediately available, there was a J&J vaccine that was available for this country to use, but on trial because it was not authorized as yet, but it was authorized for trial, and therefore applications were made to expand the trial to cover the 1.5 million health workers, and that was done, and that's the phase 1, because it covers health workers, is done on an expanded trial. If there is a need to top up the vaccines from J&J, we will top up those vaccines. We have communicated that we have just had the approval of the Pfizer vaccine, and if we need to activate the Pfizer vaccine for the phase 1, they will be activated. But as it stands now, J&J is still being implemented as a mass trial or expanded trial on health workers with the relevant approvals for an expanded trial, and we have just communicated that J&J are finalizing their authorization by SAPRA for the mass vaccination, and we are confident that before the phase 2 is commenced with, that approval would have been granted for mass vaccination. And then,
thank you very much. Thank you very much, Minister. Xoli, do you have any questions on your side? This is our last round. Thank you very much. Do you have more questions, Matukwane?
Yes, we do. We have 3 questions.
Yes, please proceed.
The first one is from Terence Creamer. They have asked, could you please define who has been included in the vulnerable groups eligible for vaccination in phase 2 of the vaccination rollout? Also, could you confirm whether teachers are included in those eligible for vaccination in phase 2 under essential workers? And then we have Andisiwe Makinana from Sunday Times. They have asked, is the NCCC meeting today? Will the President address the nation? Can the Minister say whether there have been new lockdown restrictions or for Easter holidays? And the last question is from Ridumezi Magwena from the Citizen. They have asked, with regards to every effort being made to resolve current energy challenges, what is the overall cost of the reported 20-year contract for the power ships headed to SA, and how much will the running cost be, e.g. for LPG, and where will the LPG be sourced from? Also, at what cost is a contract in place, and with who? From where do the overall budgets come from? I don't know if I can squeeze in one last question.
Yes, please do, because this is the last round. Thank you.
We have one from Khumbudzo from UFM. They have asked, why is it that whenever Cabinet contemplates scenarios in respect to the country's response to COVID-19, the public gets to learn about these through leaks. Is there efforts in cabinet to deal with the leaks which to a selected few few media houses? I'm asking this because South Africans deserve to get information from their own government and not from these media outlets. That's all for now.
Thank you, Minister. Those are the 5 questions from the last round we've just received. Thank you, Minister. You can.
Thank you for those questions. Let's start with the question of whether the NCCC is meeting. The NCCC meets weekly to consider matters of, and just to get an update on processes that are being done now with the vaccination, but also to just track where we are with the infections, but also all the other interventions that are being made to respond to the COVID-19 challenge. The difficulty of asking whether the NCCC is meeting today or not today or tomorrow, because the NCCC meets every Tuesday in the country and is chaired by the President. If there is a need for a special NCCC, that is convened at that time. And the difficulty is that if it's a special NCCC, it can meet or it can be postponed. So I would not want to go into details of whether the NCCC is meeting today or not meeting today, because if a special NCCC is convened, then today, and I say it's not meeting, you'll say I've misled yourselves. And if the special NCCC has been convened and then it gets postponed, and you say again I've misled yourself. So I would not want to go into whether the NCCC is meeting today. But in terms of schedule, the NCCC meets weekly, and that day is Tuesday. And it's set. You don't have to speculate about it. The meetings of NCCC are every Tuesday, and we consider recommendations both from the Department of Health and also from the Net Joints and from the IMC on vaccination, on any other recommendations that come through. And on the details around the power purchase agreements, the Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy provided those details. I do not want to speak without the firmness of the details on top of my head. I'll therefore refer the questions to the Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy, and will communicate the questions, the responses back to you directly, Ritumetse Makuya of Citizen. And on the issue of, maybe I'll end with this issue around the leaks, and we'll deal with that later. In terms of the categories of groups who are vulnerable groups in phase 2, or maybe let's start with the essential workers. Essential workers are defined in this country. They include teachers, and they've been defined from the onset. They include teachers, they include police officers, they include soldiers. They've included a category of essential workers that have been there. But in addition to that, there is an engagement at a NEDLEC level to make sure that the classification of essential workers is agreed with labor, business, and communities who are represented at NEDLEC, to make sure that no category of essential workers is excluded from there. And in terms of the definition of vulnerable groups, government has already communicated what are those vulnerable groups. One is groups that are more susceptible to severe illness and hospitalization in respect with COVID-19, which will include the aged, and the risk go down depending on, so the person who's over the age of 80 holds a higher risk, or is more vulnerable than the person who's at the age of 40. So age is a determiner of vulnerability. Comorbidities, those who have comorbidities that have been defined, I don't think I must repeat the definition of comorbidities in the country. They are part of the vulnerable groups, but also groups that are in congregate settings, which include university students, because there are a number who are populated there of higher education students. You've got people in prisons, you've got people in old age homes, but large groups that are found in restricted or confined spaces for a particular period of time, they will then fall within that category. And I've indicated in the communication from Cabinet that we are also considering, or there's also a decision to include what is called occupational health and safety stream of workers. That are workers who are driving or who are critical in driving the economy, but because of the nature of their work, they then become exposed to the virus, and they are front-facing is people in the hospitality industry, your taxi drivers, my people in the spaza shops and informal businesses, your mine workers, your media people, yourself, you are in because you are critical in reporting to the nation, and those others. But we indicated that the Department of Health, together with NEDLEC, they are engaging on finalizing the categorization of those also in the occupational health and safety stream, so that there can be clarity for everybody who is included, and those who feel that they must be included, there will be clarity on mechanisms of applying. In terms of speculation of announcements around how we're going to handle the Easter period or the upcoming religious holidays period, we've been clear that there should be a plan in place, and that will be communicated by the President of the Republic when that decision is taken of what are the measures that are going to be implemented during this religious holiday period. And so it should not be a speculation issue, it should be a reality and expectation for everybody. And on the issues of leaks, we agree with you that the leaks are unwarranted. It's a serious level of ill discipline by ourselves as members of Cabinet and those who are privy to sit in the NCCC and brief the NCCC, and that will not be tolerated. The President has indicated his unhappiness, and actions will be taken against those who continue to leak, because South Africans need and deserve to receive information from their own government that is clear, that is not speculation, and that is based on factual decisions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. That brings us to the end of this. That brings us to the end of our post-cabinet media briefing. Thank you very much for the colleagues who joined us. Thank you to the colleagues in Cape Town who joined us virtually, as well as the colleagues on our WhatsApp platform. Have a lovely Thursday afternoon further. Thank you very much.